You could drive for hours across roads that stretch into the horizon like endless gray ribbons. Passing fields with a sky and a land almost seem to merge in the distance. Towns along the way can appear like cinematic sets whose cast and crew have vanished, leaving only abandoned storefronts and a single gas station with a rusted pump that creaks whenever the wind picks up. As unbelievable as it might sound, half the U.S. population is jammed into a mere 9 states. The rest is an underpopulated patchwork of overlooked municipalities, a place where more tumbleweeds populate the roads than Tinder matches populate your phone. The big question is why? Why are people leaving these regions behind, or never moving there in the first place? And what does it mean for the country's future if so much territory is scarcely inhabited? Let's explore the 11 states that exemplify these challenges, places where the population continues to dwindle or stagnate despite the natural beauty and cultural treasures waiting to be discovered. Number 11, Kansas. Kansas is often referred to as the heart of America because it sits so close to the geographic center of the contiguous United States. If you stand in certain parts of the state, you can see for miles and miles. The land so flat that legend says you could watch your dog run away for 3 consecutive days. The wide open plains feel peaceful or downright eerie, depending on your perspective. Yet the state is losing population in more than half of its 105 counties, and the trend shows few signs of reversing. While agriculture remains vital, younger generations yearn for careers in technology, healthcare, and other growing industries that haven't established significant foothold here. Tornadoes are a frequent and sometimes devastating concern, reinforcing stereotypes from The Wizard of Oz. It doesn't help that extreme weather events can foster a sense of risk. Tornado seasons can leave residents on edge, and many people want the kind of security that comes with larger, more diversified economies. Kansas isn't a bad place by any means, but it struggles to retain its youth and attract new settlers who might prefer what they perceive as greater opportunities elsewhere. Number 10, Mississippi. If you look at housing prices alone, you might think Mississippi is a hidden gem, a place where the median home value hovers around $140,000. Unfortunately, that affordability comes with serious drawbacks. Mississippi frequently lands at or near the bottom in measures of healthcare, education, and average income, creating a vicious cycle where underfunded schools struggle to graduate students who can then lift local economies. Poverty rates remain stubbornly high, and the infrastructure in many parts of the state is painfully neglected. The Delta region has produced some of the most influential music in American history, from the blues to gospel. But that cultural richness often stands in stark contrast to limited job markets that revolve around low-wage work with few chances for advancement. Obesity and incarceration rates are among the worst in the country, adding further complications for anyone considering a move to the region. For those who do live here, the sense of community and familial ties can be powerful motivators to stay, but the future often looks bleak, leading many younger residents to leave as soon as they can. Thus, while Mississippi could theoretically attract buyers looking for cheaper land and a slower way of life, the state's challenges tend to overshadow those perks, discouraging potential newcomers who weigh the pros of affordability against the cons of low rankings in nearly every other category. Number 9, Wyoming. With its majestic mountains and sprawling grasslands, it is so visually dramatic that you might understand why Hollywood still loves using it for sweeping western backdrops. Yellowstone National Park and the Tetons draw millions of tourists each year, yet the population remains the smallest in the nation, never reaching even 600,000 residents. The economy relies heavily on energy. Think coal, oil, natural gas, and on the tourism industry fueled by the state's natural wonders. If you're not in those industries or planning to retire comfortably amid scenic views, you may struggle to find a stable career in Wyoming. The climate can be unforgiving, with relentless winds that seem to have their own personality and winters that transform the landscape into a frozen desert. While some people relish the rugged solitude and the cowboy ethos, others, especially the younger generation, find themselves craving a bit more vibrancy, more nightlife, and more cultural diversity. Life in places like Cheyenne or Casper isn't as hurried as big city living, and that calm can be a plus. But those seeking certain specialized professions, robust social circles, or even basic resources often end up disappointed. Dating in Wyoming is notoriously difficult for single folks, and the sense of isolation that sets in after the first winter can dissuade many from staying long-term. All that beauty, it turns out, can come at the cost of everyday convenience and opportunity. Number 8, North Dakota. Not so long ago, North Dakota buzzed with excitement because of the fracking boom. Towns such as Williston transformed almost overnight into modern gold rush centers, attracting people from all corners of the country lured by the promise of quick, plentiful money in the oil fields. The influx drove rents and property values sky high, pushing some longtime residents out of their own communities. But the energy market can be fickle, and the fracking craze eventually cooled. Although some oil jobs remain, the state hasn't sustained the kind of growth or diversification needed to keep newcomers around. Then there's the weather. Winters can drop to a bone-chilling minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit, a temperature that makes even a short walk feel like an extreme sport. Living several hours from a major shopping center or airport might also wear on newcomers used to more convenience. When the most significant economic sector starts to falter, as the energy sector did in North Dakota, and when combined with brutal winters, isolation, and high cost of living, people naturally look elsewhere. Those who arrived during the boom often left once the excitement died down, leaving behind half-emptied apartments and a handful of dwindling communities that reflect how unstable a resource-driven economy can become when the resource in question stops being lucrative. Number 7, West Virginia. Few states contain as much natural beauty and cultural richness as West Virginia, a mountainous wonderland often referred to as the Mountain State. It's steeped in folklore, river adventures, bluegrass music, and a sense of neighborliness that city dwellers might envy. That said, when coal died, it took a large chunk of the state's economy with it. Mining towns that once bustled with activity now look frozen in time, their storefronts shuttered, their main streets eerily quiet. The population has been steadily shrinking, and the opioid crisis hit West Virginia particularly hard, burdening small towns with issues far beyond just unemployment. Many residents who do have jobs find themselves commuting across state borders or working for the local government, given the dearth of private sector opportunities. Number 6, Alaska, the largest and wildest state in the Union. Alaska promises adventure on a scale unmatched anywhere else in the country. Glaciers, northern lights, and moose sightings can feel like part of everyday life if you settle here. But that same grandeur poses day-to-day challenges that many people find too overwhelming. The dark winters loom, with places like Utqiagvik, formerly known as Barrow, experiencing 65 consecutive days without a sunrise. Groceries and building materials are often expensive because they must be shipped or flown in, leading to a high cost of living that can be shocking for newcomers who expected cheap, rugged living. Healthcare access can be spotty outside of Anchorage or Fairbanks, and weather-related travel delays are common, making something as simple as visiting relatives in another state a logistical puzzle. Alaska once prospered from oil revenues, but fluctuations in energy markets have made that prosperity feel uncertain. A good number of people come here chasing the dream of off-grid independence or the allure of pristine wilderness. Yet after a few punishing winters, the novelty can wear thin, pushing them to return south. The state's breathtaking vistas and sense of frontier freedom mean Alaska will likely always attract newcomers, but only a fraction end up making it their forever home. Number 5, Montana. Montana's famed Big Sky doesn't disappoint. One glance at Glacier National Park or the rolling prairies set against a backdrop of snow-capped peaks can leave visitors in awe. Instagram and travel documentaries paint Montana as a natural paradise, and in many ways, it is. However, living there presents a different reality. Large portions of the state suffer from rural poverty. Harsh winters can make roads impassable for extended periods, and the job market often revolves around agriculture, ranching, or small local businesses. Bozeman and Missoula have seen a surge in popularity, partially thanks to people relocating from states like California, driving up real estate prices, and sometimes clashing with longtime residents who find themselves priced out of their own neighborhoods. While remote work might allow more professionals to settle into these scenic surroundings, internet infrastructure can be unreliable in some areas, and the sense of isolation can be daunting for anyone used to the convenience of larger cities. The contrast between the allure of postcard-perfect scenery and the gritty challenges of everyday life can catch many by surprise. Some adapt and find joy in the wide-open spaces, while others decide they prefer to remain seasonal visitors rather than year-round residents. Number 4. South Dakota. If you take a road trip through South Dakota, you'll almost inevitably be drawn to Mount Rushmore, a national monument that looms above the pines and has become an icon of American tourism. Plenty of people snap their obligatory selfies there, but after that, what else is on the agenda? Outside the tourism orbit, many towns across the state feel like lonely stopovers, with farmland extending beyond your sightline and a social scene that rarely caters to big city tastes. Agriculture remains vital, but it doesn't necessarily entice ambitious graduates who might want to pursue tech, engineering, or other high-paying fields. Internet connectivity can be inconsistent or slow in rural regions, and the general sense that there's not much here tends to persist unless you're a fan of open fields, starry nights, and the occasional firework displays celebrating a local festival. The cities of Sioux Falls and Rapid City do offer some amenities, but compared to metropolitan areas in other states, they can seem limited. Thus, while many appreciate the quiet and the friendly small-town vibe, South Dakota seldom makes the short list for anyone looking to relocate for big career goals or a buzzing social life. Number 3. Vermont. Vermont conjures images of vibrant autumn leaves, cozy inns, and maple syrup, so pure it's practically a luxury export. It's also known for progressive politics, organic farms, and a culture that places a premium on local, sustainable living. But the reality includes some significant barriers to growth. Vermont's population is aging, and younger residents often leave due to a shortage of appealing job opportunities. Housing is scarce, driving prices up and making it tough for newcomers to find affordable places to live. Winters stretch on, with heavy snowfall and short days that can sometimes feel endless. Unless you're in healthcare, certain specialized fields, or well-positioned to work remotely, the local economy doesn't present a wide range of career paths. Immigrants and out-of-staters rarely move in large numbers to Vermont, in part because the cost of living can be surprisingly high, and the cultural pace is slower than what many might be accustomed to. The state retains an air of exclusivity, where those with means can buy picturesque country homes and enjoy farm-to-table feasts at quaint bistros, but ordinary families might find the place financially daunting. For anyone craving diversity, nightlife, and a broad array of cultural or work opportunities, Vermont can feel isolated. The landscape is undeniably gorgeous, but that beauty alone hasn't enticed the influx of new residents the state would need to reverse its population stagnation. Number 2, New Mexico. Nicknamed the Land of Enchantment, New Mexico stands out for its desert landscapes, ancient pueblos, intriguing art scene, and cultural fusions that stretch back centuries. The sunsets paint the horizon with brilliant oranges, pinks, and purples that can leave you speechless. Tourists flock to Santa Fe and Taos, drawn by the region's deep history, distinctive architecture, and creative energy. Yet many who consider moving here grapple with systemic problems that include high crime rates in cities like Albuquerque, a public education system that frequently ranks near the bottom nationally, and poverty that casts a long shadow over both rural and urban areas. Bureaucracy moves slowly, leading locals to jokingly refer to it as the land of mañana. Power outages and infrastructure challenges are not uncommon, and the job market struggles to offer the diversity that would keep more young professionals around. While some fall in love with the rugged desert beauty and the thriving artistic subcultures, others discover that daily life involves a long list of frustrations, whether it's the limited availability of specialized medical care or the difficulty of finding suitable employment. The cultural riches can be understated, but for many, they don't outweigh the sense of uncertainty that comes with living in a place where basic civic and social structures seem perpetually behind schedule. Number 1, Nebraska. Nebraska could be called America's blind spot. Rarely does it feature prominently in national debates, nor does it have the dramatic extremes of, say, Alaska's wilderness or Florida's tropical beaches. People know it for cornfields, for being part of what's derisively termed flyover country. Omaha and Lincoln are by no means devoid of culture or economic potential. Omaha has a growing entrepreneurial scene and some Fortune 500 companies. But overall, Nebraska experiences sluggish growth. The question is not so much why people are leaving in droves, but rather why so few choose to move here in the first place. Tornadoes roll through during certain seasons, while winters bring heavy snowfall and occasional blizzards. making the weather unpredictable and sometimes harsh. Rural parts of Nebraska can feel especially isolated if you're someone craving nightlife, cutting-edge technology jobs, or an ethnically diverse community. The state doesn't project a strong identity, which can make it hard to attract newcomers who are searching for a place with distinct cultural magnets. Despite being neither exceptionally cheap nor especially expensive compared to other Midwestern states, Nebraska falls into a kind of middle ground that fails to capture the imagination of prospective residents. It's a place that can feel thoroughly average, neither especially welcoming nor overtly uninviting. And therein lies the trouble. When a state doesn't distinguish itself, it tends to remain forgotten, a place people rarely think about as potential home unless they were raised there or have family ties that pull them back. So, why do these places remain so empty? Each state has its own unique set of obstacles, whether it's an over-reliance on a single industry, outdated infrastructure, harsh weather, or a lack of professional diversity. Some must contend with significant social issues, including high poverty rates, opioid or meth crises, and insufficient educational systems. Others simply have not managed to market themselves effectively or upgrade their policies to appeal to modern workers, especially those who rely on strong internet connectivity and a dynamic job market. As a result, the very conditions that fuel growth in states along the coast, such as robust tech hubs, multicultural communities, well-funded universities, and a range of high-paying jobs, are in short supply across much of America's emptier regions.